Salutations, my Fallout lovers. It is Matty here today with 5 must-know tips for Fallout 4 survival mode. If you're going to be taking this thing on, then you're going to want to hear these right now because they are going to help you live for a very long time in survival mode and keep you from raging off when you die and have to load an old save from 40 minutes back. So let's start off with tip number 1. You got to collect every empty bottle you see, whether it is an empty Nuka-Cola bottle, an empty milk bottle, an empty beer bottle, anything, because you can fill that bad boy with water. Now, what I usually do is go back to Vault 111 and fill them all with purified water because that's kind of like Project Purity to me. That's what I call it, is Project Purity back at Vault 111. Or, if you want to take the lazy route, which I think most of us will, then you can fill it with dirty water. For every 3 dirty waters you have, you can go ahead and purify one at the cooking station. So now you have a pretty big supply of purified water. Just make sure you make the best use of it. My second tip is to work absolutely everybody in the wasteland over. If you can double cross anyone, be sure to do so. And the reason I say this is because you need to maximize the amount of items you can get from someone. Someone might shaft you a reward. You have to take all you can get. A good example is the Drumlin Diner. When you show up and you have to pick a side, pick one, but then screw over the other and then loot the entire place clean. Really, think about it. Are you going to go back to Drumlin Diner to buy or sell things? No. So go ahead, clean that place up, take what you have, and apply that same logic to anywhere else that you set foot in. Especially with the new survival mode damage, it's actually a feasible task because they actually don't have that much health, so you can actually get this job done. My third tip is to set, quote, save stations. Now, what are save stations exactly? Well, I treat save stations as the settlements in Fallout 4. Remember back then when you actually had to, not pause the game and just click save, but actually go to a place in-game to save your game? Yes, treat your settlements as that in Fallout 4. Discover and ally as many settlements as possible, and for each settlement you discover, just place down a bed. You don't have to go all crazy with the customization, but just throw down a bed. Now when you bring up the map and press RB, you'll obviously look at your, quote, supply lines, and you'll see all your settlements on the map. Tip number 4 is to collect miscellaneous items that have multiple components rather than just one. A good example is finding a aluminum can versus a aluminum canister. An aluminum canister offers 2 aluminum along with multiple other components that can benefit you when crafting. Meanwhile, an aluminum can only offers 2 aluminum. Now mind you, the aluminum canister weighs a little bit more, but it'll pay off in the end when you bring it back to one of your settlements. This kind of saves space in the end of the day because you're actually using the same item for multiple mechanics, and it helps you micromanage things because you're so attentive to what you're picking up. So yes, that kind of ties into another tip, which is just to be entirely aware of what you're looting. Don't just senselessly loot everything in sight like you normally do just because you're going to have all the components. Make sure you pick and choose what you're picking up because it's going to be very hard to find a place to craft, and you're going to have to make sure you have exactly what you need. So make sure to mark down what exactly you need to upgrade your weapon next, as well as your armor. Finally, tip number 5 is to craft as you go, which I was kind of alluding to in my previous tip. Yes, when you're out in the wasteland, it's not like you can just fast travel and go to a settlement and start crafting there. You have to craft as you go in survival mode, which means the second that you cross a armor crafting station or a power armor station or a weapons crafting workbench, you're going to have to make use of what you have there. And if you can make even the slightest upgrade to your weapon, go ahead and do so because you don't know when you're going to be crossing one next. They're few and far between, just like the beds in Fallout 4. Now you can apply the same logic of tip number 3, which is to discover settlements and place beds and place new workstations in your settlements, but that takes a lot of resources and it might be hard to do for some of you guys, and I totally get that. It's also worth a perk, so that's also one other thing worth considering. So with that being said, it's just best to craft as you go along in the wasteland. It's to make great use of your resources, keep your inventory space free, and also keep you up to date as you take on new enemies throughout the wasteland. Anyway, those are my top 5 must-know tips for Fallout 4's survival mode. Do you guys have any other tips you'd like to share? Be sure to leave them in the comments down below. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. The links are in the description. Check out SugarBomb.com, the place by Bethesda fans for Bethesda fans. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.